But all right, Lion stuff. All right, Flannel.
Yep.
Let's get into it because I do want to get to the Stanley Cup, and we will discuss it coming up in just a little bit. The realistic and I always get nervous about having this discussion. The realistic expectations for Aidan Hutchinson, because I know there are some in the camp that think he's going to get 30 sacks next year. I'm kidding about that.
No. Yeah, clearly.
No.
What? I think you and I can find a common ground. What do you expect? Like what would you say? All right, Aidan took the. Is there another step for Aidan Hutchinson to take?
Yes. Well, yeah, of course there's another step. I think there's levels to this of what he can be. I think next season, at worst, he is going to be at the very end of the top tier of defensive ends. Right now, I have him as the 8th best behind the usuals and Josh Allen and Khalil Mack. I expect Aidan Hutchinson to, at the very least, enter that pantheon to where he's fighting for an all-pro spot. But I'll tell you what, with the more help, it wouldn't shock me at all if he has a season in which his sack totals remind me of what Danielle Hunter's and Trey Hendrickson's were last year, but he's better against the run and he's more of a force in the backfield. Because nobody thinks about Danielle Hunter and Trey Hendrickson as some of the top of the defensive ends in the NFL. We like them. We think that they're great, but with Aidan, I expect him to, if he has that sort of monster sack season, to be a guy who's actually fighting for Defensive Player of the Year because you see all that he brings to the table. He's not a liability against the run. He's in the backfield almost all of the time. You see almost every game has at least a pressure or two that forces a bad throw. So I think there is a next step. There's a next step where he can become like a tier better. But given his help, I could definitely see an all-pro season. I don't think that's outside the realm of possibilities.
Woodward Sports chat thread, get your thoughts into there, jump in there, and let us know. And Andrew Jones says Hendrickson got 17 sacks thanks to Reader. I think Hutch can do something very, very similar.
Yeah,
he can.
I'd say 14 is my floor, especially with as much as he gets in the backfield. 14 regular season sacks, I feel like it's very achievable for him.
And so, Flannel, I'm going to circle back, and I'm going to get killed for this, even though I'm right. So it's safe to say you're expecting more.
Yeah. But I don't, but hold on. This is what my problem has always been. I don't like this premise that his season last season, given that he was in year 2, given that he had double-digit sacks, and given that he was a force for a lot of the playoffs, was anything other than splendid. That's where it's like, what are we doing? Because, yeah, I expect...
So you expect more?
I do, but it's not like he needs to take that much of a leap to enter the elite of the elites. Maybe like one tier. Maybe he runs and do a couple of more sacks that he didn't get last year, and then all of a sudden he's an all-pro. He has a lot better...
So you need a little more then?
A little bit.
I say it, I'm a fucking criminal.
Yeah,
no,
you say it, and you're like,
goes.
well, it's part of the natural progression. And this goes back to that's the company I hold Aidan Hutchinson in. Mm-hmm. The Nick Bosa, like the game wreckers. That's the company I hold him in.
My thing, though, is I would argue that he was a game wrecker last year. That's where we may butt heads a little bit. Certainly in some games, but even in some of the games where he didn't have a sack, it's not like he was hurting the defense. He didn't have a sack in the Tampa Bay game where they allowed 6 points. He didn't have a sack in the Raider game where the team as a whole had a bunch and they allowed 7 offensive points. To me, it's more about how the defense progresses. If they're a top, say, 10 to 15 defense and Aidan Hutchinson's sack numbers don't improve that much, I still think it's a successful season. He's still going to make a Pro Bowl because of that. But I also think that he has the sky's the limit.
Yes.
He could be Defensive Player of the Year this year. I'm not calling for it.
So you don't need to see more.
A little bit. Just
so
a little
you do need
bit.
to see more.
I think it will all come with as a byproduct of having more help. I think some of those pressures.
So he needs more help.
everybody needs help. He had terrible help last year. He got it in the secondary and on the defensive line.
terrible help here today. No,
I'm compromised. I'm going 4 hours. No, but yeah, I expect his numbers to improve, both with him and with the byproduct of having more help.
And that's what I think. That's what me and KG are saying. We expect him to be at that 14 and a half as a base.
Yeah.
Because if he has those 110 pressures, you got to think a little bit better than that with a DJ Reader in the middle, with guys that can play man on the outside. He can get at least 3 more. And then I would love that 17 number. Yeah. I don't know why that's the number I like, but that's the number I'm looking at. Like that's the expectations I have for Hutch.
So you want a little more?
Yeah, I expect him to be a Pro Bowler. I expect him to be an All-Pro. I expect him to be that guy.
Yeah,
that's where I've been the whole time.
Yeah.
And I get murdered on social media for it. Sam Flannel says it and like, yeah, he's right. I need a little more. I say it, I'm a dick.
Yeah. It's the Michigan fans, man.
No, you know what it is.
And then I get Danny G. It's your tone, Neil. No, fuck that, man. Like, no, it's my tone. What am I saying?
Yeah.
I've been on this train.
Like that's what I think he's capable of. This is the Michigan thing.
In
a microcosm. I expect more than you did.
Okay, so here's what it is, and I've tried to say this many times, and it always turns into an argument, but I'm going to stay as calm as can possibly be.
Oh, we going to test that.
Oh, I'm calm.
Okay.
and not calm in the way that Adam Sandler was in anger management before he got tased. I'm actually calm. It's this idea that whenever you bring up Aidan Hutchinson, it's always in the tone of like...
Tone.
No, wait. It's always given the premise that he needs more. It's never looking back at his season and being like, oh man, he had a really great year. He was the best defensive player on the team. He really showed out in the Rams game. It's all about...
He is the best defensive player on the team. That's a non-negotiable.
I don't think anybody disagrees that he was the best defensive player on this team.
But Neil, you're such a slappy for everybody else. I mean, I get it. Amon-Ra and Penei, they're established. They're established. And I think Aidan could get to that level where he's thought of in the same regard this year universally. But when it comes to like Jahmyr Gibbs, Monty, Kirby Joseph, I mean, Brian Branch, all of them, it's just effusive praise all of the time, never, I need more. That's kind of my thing. You're kind of a huge slappy for everyone except for Aidan Hutchinson.
Because I asked for a little more. You just asked for a little more. What's different?
But you never.
What's different?
But you look at his last season as disappointing.
But what's understood don't need to be said, Sam. That's kind of the situation with Hutch. Nobody has said on this program or any other one that Hutch had a bad year last year. Nobody has said that. Am I
out of my mind to say that Penei Sewell is and will be the best player on this football team?
No.
That literally has a direct chartered flight to the Hall of Fame.
And
after 3 years.
That's why we talk about Hutch in this ilk.
Because he
can get there. Because he's that good. Because he's the best player on the defense. So we want a little bit more from him.
Exactly.
What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Sparty, Michigan hater.
If this was, Julian Okwara that we're like, oh, we need 17 sacks out of him, that's out of bounds.
Yeah.
But this is your your first round pick, your second overall pick, the guy who's supposed to be the face, the guy who is the best player on your defense.
And when I listen to him talk, it doesn't matter what I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know who thinks he can be on that level too?
He does.
Him.
Yes.
Exactly.
Him.
Exactly.
He thinks that.
He's honestly as confident of a defensive player as I've seen during my time as a Lions fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he thinks he's all that, and he is, for the record.
Yeah. Love Hutch.
Yeah,
he's a game record, but he can reach another level.
Yes.
And that's, you know what? Maybe we broke a little bread today. It's all well and good. The one thing that I will say to sort of maybe question a little bit, you can't demand 17 sacks or an unsuccessful season. That just doesn't happen.
No. And nobody said that either.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. All right.
Because here's the deal, Flannel.
Yeah.
You will not run on this defense. You didn't run on this defense last year, and they got better against the run.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You will not run. It is, and Spenny, this kind of dovetails into your other question that you had on here.
Mm-hmm.
You will not run on this defense. Therefore, they have to sack the quarterback.
Yeah.
They have to. On 3rd and long. They have to be among the league leaders in it. They have to be elite at it. Because And I heard like the other network talking about this. I believe the expectation, like from a pure analytics, like a yardage perspective, is that the Lions will be around the 20th ranked defense based on yardage given up. Now, immediately, because I think about this a little more granularly than most would, immediately I start to think, well, yeah, God's gift to quarterback, Josh Allen's on the schedule. Yeah. God's gift to quarterback that everybody loves, Trevor Lawrence, is on the schedule. We'll be lucky just to keep them in the park with what they do offensively. Jordan Love, the next coming of Aaron Rodgers. He's on the schedule twice.
They already crowning the Packers.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, they could be in the high teens in like yards per game and stuff like that. Again, as you get to a Super Bowl expectation, my expectations change. I don't give a shit about the style points. When it's 3rd and 12, after you ran for -1 yard and -1 yard, get home.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
And the whole yard.
And if you don't, then I need interceptions.
Sure. Or like batted down passes. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. A stop of any kind. 5-yard completion on 3rd and 12. But yeah, interceptions would obviously be the best, and sacks. Which is why I don't think yards per game is really a metric that I even give a damn about. If I were to give a damn about any stat when it comes to this defense, I would probably say something more along the lines of points allowed per drive. Something like that.
Or even points. Flannel stat.
Yeah.
I fit my narrative
fit
stat.
my PFF stat.
Hold on. Points allowed per drive is important because it like points allowed per game, it doesn't take into account the amount of drives another team has.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Just a fan says if you want to be considered elite, you have to play elite.
I think he played at an elite level last year. Aidan Hutchinson did. He was a top 6 edge rusher in the NFL.
Yeah.
I have him at 8.
I want him to be in the top 3.
Yes.
So you want more?
Yes.
Interesting. Good luck on social media. Brand is. I hope Dave Portnoy doesn't come across that.
Yeah. He's too worried about Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, that's all
he's been talking about.
Brandon's dog. Hutch better not take a month off this season. Am I right, Flannel?
He didn't have a month off. That's always been my point. He didn't have a month off. And a couple of those games, the defense actually played very well, which is what's the most important thing. I think at absolute baseline, if Hutch doesn't have double-digit sacks, we're at red alert. But as long as he has that and the defense is great, we're not going to be angry. We're not going to have our ire, locked in on Hutch. But I think he's going to have better than like low double digits, though. I do.
Catspot. Neil and Spencer's takes are trash. Football's a team game. Holmes has done nothing to help Hutchinson. Reader can't rush the quarterback. Well, if he's elite, if he's top 3, if he's perennial all-pro game wrecker, then at some point it's on him to do it, right?
And DJ Reader was in the upper echelon of defensive tackles when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. So, Katz just doesn't know what he's talking about.
But Neil, that's
the 4th one in a row.
Well, yeah,
Neil, that's a dumb take, Neil.
Yeah, bad take.
Stop. That's a
James Houston,
who don't care.
Who while was injured last year, no doubt, is a sack a game guy in his career.
I don't think he's going to maintain that. But
like I said,
whether you think it or not, it's what's happened.
It's facts.
Give me 1 full year of Marcus Davenport and James Houston combined.
Yes.
That is a guy who can beat one-on-ones on the other side. We didn't have that last year.
Absolutely.
Now we got 2 of them. Hopefully we get a full year out of them combined. And we got Matthew Betts. Look out.
Right.
Bet on Betts.
The answer.
Cameron Wake 2.0.
Wouldn't that be something?
The answer.
I'm waiting for you to hate on Matt Betts.
You know what's so funny?
Hate on him. Hate on him.
No.
He's a role player, Sam.
Could he help Hutch?
No. I think he's... You know what Matthew Betts is? And I said this about...
The Tom Kennedy of the
defense?
this
about Antoine Green yesterday, and Spenny, you were there. They're fodder for the slappies.
Yeah.
That's basically what they are. They're fodder for like the ridiculous slappies.
Hey.
For like the Mike Dumases on Twitter, guys like that. Idiots like that.
Mike Osa.
Antoine Green is coming in. He's a big wide receiver. Oh, he's got a big season. He's going to be able to give Jared Goff that down the field threat. Expect 600 yards from Antoine Green.
12 sacks, Matthew Betts loading.
Hey.
That's going to be Mike Dumas' next tweet.
No, my whole thing with Matthew Betts is I say it facetiously to get after Easy and to get Flannel going a little bit, stuff like that. But I fully expect if he is given the same amount of snaps that Charles Harris was last year, he will outproduce him.
And you know what? And it's not even in some
it's like
total.
2 sacks.
It's not even in some total. It's does he influence winning a game?
Yeah.
Like you can laugh at Tom Kennedy last year, the year before. Like you can laugh on it, but he had a direct influence on winning a road game.
That's fine.
He did. And even you've admitted that.
Yes.
And like
that's it. When you're a Super Bowl team, Spenny, that's all that matters.
like Bruce Irvin coming out of the retirement home.
Just to bury Derek Carr.
Was better than Charles Harris in 13 games.
And influenced winning
Yes.
in a road game.
Yeah.
And
Like, that's it.
Put
And
Derek Carr on the stretcher.
I've always said this, and this isn't to knock the Lions or anything. I think if Derek Carr stays in the game, the Saints win. Who knocked him out?
Yeah, Bruce Irvin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shout out
Because
to
Jameis
him,
missed some easy throws.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of which,
Lady, what?
Jameis revenge tour for the Browns. Is he going to be the starter after Massage Boy Watson can't do it?
Stop it.
Ah, dude.
Stop
Give
it.
it to
Famous
me.
Jameis.
I
Yes.
would-
Give me the
man.
Jameis
Yes.
Winston experience.
Oh,
I
man.
love me some famous Jameis.
Back-to-back 450-yard, 4-touchdown, 2-interception games.
Yeah.
And fantasy teams across the world pick him up
Yes.
to see him throw for 109
And
with
4
4 picks
interceptions.
Yes.
the very next game.
I love
and
it.
then you bench him, and then the next game he's 440 and 5 touchdowns with 4 picks.
You thought the greatest show on turf was the Rams? No, it's Jameis Winston.
Famous Jameis, boy.
You never know what's going to happen.
He's also one of the funniest people. Did you see him like tuna fishing or whatever it was? He was fishing for tuna and he was like interviewing the fish as they got brought up. He had the mic and somebody was like, imagine being this fish choking to death, looking for air, and the last thing you see is
Jameis Winston's
shoving
face.
a microphone in your face.
I'm surprised he wasn't fishing for crab legs.
Hey.